Story, story, story. Once upon a time. Our story title today is a tale about a little hunter and a king. Little hunter and a king. There lived a certain man who had no other work but hunting. He had a son whom he taught the same thing, hunting. One day, he went to the bush to hunt as usual, but they couldn't get any catch but a rat, and his son threw the rat away. At dawn, they were hungry. The father said to the son, "Son, roast that rat for us to eat at least, so we don't sleep hungry." The boy said, "Oh, why have thrown it away?" The father was furious, cursing him, and picked up an axe, which was not far from him. He struck the boy with the axe, and the boy fainted. The father went his way and left the boy. When he came around, he rose up and went home at night. He found them sleeping, so he went to the room and picked his belongings, and off he went to a certain town. He got to the town at night, and everywhere was quiet as everyone was asleep. He proceeded into the middle of the town until he reached the king's house. He entered, and soon he was right inside the house. He was naked, without clothes, and he met the king. The king was astonished and asked, "From where?" And he replied, "From so and so village." And the king said, "It is well with you." The boy said, "Both I and my father went to the bush to walk and hunt. We couldn't find any catch but a single rat. He gave it to me to keep, but I forgot it somewhere. When we became hungry, he asked me to bring the rat so we could roast and eat. And I said I have dropped it. I do not know where." My father became angry and picked up an axe and struck me. I fainted, and when I recovered at night, I rose up and I came here. The king was just coming from a war, and the war he went through, he was very disheartened because his son didn't come back with him. He was captured and was killed. And so the king said to the boy, "Can you keep a secret from me?" The boy said, "What secret, my lord? My lord?" And the king said, "I have no male child. Can you be my child?" The boy consented. When dawn come, I shall say you are my son, whom was caught at the war, and that you returned." The boy said, "Surely, it's not a difficult one." The king entered his room and took up a gun, fired it around midnight, and the mother of the house came out and said, "King Lion, who caused fear? What is the gun you are firing in the night for?" The king said, "My son has returned." Upon hearing that, the mother of the house raised sounds of joy, and the town rose up, and they were asking what had happened at the king's house, hearing the sound of the gun at that time of the night. And they said, "The chief's son had come back. He who had been caught at war is back." And they said, Indeed, he is back." When it was done, the boy bathed, and the chief gave him good clothes and gifts. And he came forth and stood before the counselors and elders, and said, "This is my son, whom have returned from war." But the counselors murmured among themselves and said, "This is not his son." As from then, they began thinking of ways to prove whether the boy is the prince or not. One day, the headmen joined their heads together and said, "Wait, Today we shall prove it. And they added good presents to their children, whom already have a lot, and put the saddled on war horses for them, to go to the chief's house and call his son, and say to him that you are going to take a horse and go and exercise. And they said, once you go and gallop and pulled up, you must dismount and kill your horses and come home. And each of the boys were given swords. When they slung on the shoulders, and they came to the chief's house and called the boy. Now some talebearer has overheard them and went and told the king. The king made same preparation for the boy, the horses, the presents, the swords too, and said, if a naked man can dance, much more can the man with clothes on. The king called the boy and told him, when you have gone, everything you see they have done, do also same. So the boys came and called the son of the king, and they set off. As they went, they galloped. Then they dismounted and killed their horses. So the son of the chief too galloped and pulled up, dismantled and killed his horse. They went home, and the headman said, it is a lie. Tomorrow you go back. When it was done, they came and called him. The king ordered his bodyguards to fasten the saddle on a great horse for him. They went off. As they went, they galloped. Then he killed his horse, and they returned home. Then the sub-chiefs gave their sons slaves, beautiful maidens, and said, take them to the midst of the bush and slaughter them. The talebearer again went and informed the king, and the king gave his son 2 female slaves, and he said, go, whatever you see them do, do the same. They went to the bush. The sons of the headmen killed their female slaves, and the king's son also killed his, and then returned home and said, yes, it is his son. So now the chiefs were convinced that it is his son. So they stayed after some while, and on a certain day, the boy's father came from nowhere. He was carrying a quiver slung. Then he met the counselors and had all he wished to know, and headed to the king's palace. He greeted him, and the boy was sitting there by the side of the king. And he said, are you not going to get up that we may go and dig for our rats? The boy was silent. Then the chief rose up and entered the house and called them. He said, hunter, keep these secrets from me, and whatever you wish I will give you. The hunter refused. The king entreated him, but yet the king said, everything in the world I will give you, 100 of each. But the hunter refused. The chief said, saddle up for me. He saddled, and they saddled for the boy too. The king gave the boy a sword and slung it across his shoulder. They went off to the bush. The king halted and said to the boy, either you kill me and take those goods and give to your father, and return to your town, and enter into your kingship, or you kill your father, and you and I will go back and live as before. The boy was confused, not knowing what to do. Now, if it were you in the boy's shoes, what would you do? Whom will you kill among the two? If you do not know who to kill, there it is. Takurunkus. That is the end of my story.